that your Labour colleague Andy Burnham is now suggesting that we should look at a nationwide investigation or some form of additional inquiry into those grooming gangs. You're going to keep the party line, are you, and say that's not necessary, Lisa Nandy?
Well, it's more than the party line for me, actually. So before I came into Parliament, I worked with children and young people, including many of the girls that have been abused. Girls in Keighley, for example, in one of the very early grooming gang scandals. And I've worked with victims in almost all of those areas since. It's been a real priority for me as a member of Parliament. I don't totally get where Andy's coming from. What he's saying is that there are local inquiries have limited powers. Here in Greater Manchester, when he instigated an inquiry, that appallingly there were Greater Manchester police officers who refused to come and give evidence, and the inquiry had no power to compel them to do so. But I would just gently say back to him that that is precisely why the last Tory government set up a national inquiry, chaired by Alexis Jay. It ran for 7 years. It took evidence from thousands of victims. And I worked with many of those victims over those years. They were really unsure whether they wanted to stick with it or not, because it was so harrowing to have to go through that again. And they didn't believe that it would result in action. Now, there were 20 recommendations from that inquiry, which mirrored so many of the recommendations we've seen from the local inquiries. Not a single one was enacted under the last government. I don't see how we could ask victims to take part in another inquiry when we haven't acted on the last.